Hey guys, Ryan from the Mavericks.goldenandsons.com. This is podcast episode 26, and today I wanted to take you through the first section of the Golden Formula document that you can download when you sign up to our newsletter on Mavericks.goldenandsons.com. So, essentially, I had found 7 elements in these last 4 years, having worked on Golden and Sons, having talked to CEOs, ex-CEOs, self-made multimillionaires that come to our shop. I found that there were certain traits that they would repeat that would lead to success, right? And so those traits would be vision, service, networking, mindset, knowledge, health, and grooming. So these are not surprising elements, and I'm going to go through each of them over the next set of videos. But it's interesting that we know these things, but we don't tend to apply them until the image is put into our head directly. And so what I have here, and you'll see it clearly in the video, but you'll also see it when you download the document, is that there's a formula to success. If you take vision times service, right? Times the sum of your network, your mindset, your knowledge, your health, and your grooming, it will define your level of success. All right? And so the first element is vision. And why do I have here a multiplier? Why is vision a multiple of this whole equation? Because if your vision is 0, your success is 0. If your service to society is 0, your success is 0. Got what I'm saying? So today we're going to talk about vision. So let me cover vision. You must see it clearly before anyone else can see it. All right, so that's the idea of vision. Vision is not something you have of the past. It's something you have of the future. You have to see something so clearly. It's as if you came back from the future in a way that no one else can see it. So let me just read it out to you. Your future must be so clear. It is as if you are from the future. Your goals must be so defined that there is no doubt on the path. Your focus must be so singular, it is as if you have blinders on. Then you will be more decisive and receive more support. An architect only designs, an investor only finances, and a builder only builds what the visionary sees clearly in his mind. So let's go through this in its components. Okay, your future must be so clear, it is as if you are from the future. What does that mean? You know, a lot of executives are considered crazy because they have ideas that are so bold, so ridiculous, so out there that the rest of the world cannot seem to go behind it. You've heard of like when Howard Schultz started Starbucks, right? And he may have not had the idea of building an empire, but it would have been in his head to open up multiple locations. I still remember the story of when he went to Italy and he saw in Italy the idea of a cafe. And he noticed that in the United States, the only time people ever bought coffee were at breakfast shops, right? They would have breakfast and then they would order like a 50-cent coffee afterwards, which was, the coffee tasted terrible. And it was just an afterthought to the meal. And his idea was, why don't we have the same cafe idea in Italy in America? And so when he came to America and he went to the founders of Starbucks, he asked them, what do you think of this idea that I saw in Italy? And they said, it's not going to work. Here's a man who took a concept that existed in another country, and saw how it could apply to the United States. That is seeing the future. He saw it so clearly that he had the guts to go and tell the founders, I think you should really do this. Founders said no. Well, his vision was still so clear that he convinced the founders to let him open up at least one Starbucks location that would serve coffee. And he did. But the founders, even though that one location succeeded, the founders still weren't backing him up. Ultimately, he was so convinced about his idea that he left Starbucks, started his own coffee shop, and then the Starbucks founders decided to sell their investments, sell their property of Starbucks to Howard Schultz. Howard Schultz raised up the money. Now, just imagine, I think at that time he was in his early 30s. He was trying to import a concept that had never existed in the United States. Okay, so this coffee shop idea, which never existed. The price of coffee in the local market was 50 cents. He was going to sell it for $2 or $3. So the revenue gap was enormous, right? And he had to convince all these investors that his idea was going to work. Talk about having a vision so clear about the future, it is as if you were from the future. So he convinced these investors, raised, I think it was about $3 million, purchased the Starbucks brand from the founders and then was able to open the first Starbucks at Pike Place. And it blew up from there, right? This is someone who saw the future. It is as if he was from the future. Wilbur and Orville Wright, when they invented the plane, there's a statement when you go to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. I think it's in the Udvar Harrison hangar where the SR 71 Blackbird is. There it said, he said in a quote, "I believe, I see in the future that men could fly." I believe that men can still fly. This idea, he saw it enough to actually invest, him and his brother, to invest in the construction of the first plane that would take off over land. And cases like this exist all over the place. The founder of the first rocket, right? The founder of rocketry was laughed at. Landing a man on the moon, that idea was ridiculous. Getting into space, all these different concepts, they are ridiculous because they have never been done before. But the person who comes up with it has seen the future, seen it so clearly. He's bringing it from the future to the present, and he's going to now execute it. Okay, so I hope I made that clear. The second thing is, your goals must be so defined that there is no doubt on the path. The reason we hesitate to do the things that we are supposed to do is because the path to get there is not clear. You might have the vision, but you don't have the path to get to that vision, right? It is when you have clarity, piercing clarity on where you're going and how you're going to get there, that it becomes very easy to actually take the steps necessary to get to where you have to get to, because you can actually sort of see the future. You can predict what's going to come down the pipe. Next, your focus must be so singular. It is as if you have blinders on. Now, we are living in a world saturated with distraction. When you see the vision and you know the path to get there, and you put the blinders on like a racehorse that cannot see right or left, what ends up happening is you do on a daily basis the things that are necessary to get you to your goal, right? And so that's what I'm trying to cover there. And then what happens when you actually do that? You become more decisive, because as distractions come in, you have your blinders on. You can only see the goal. As distractions come in, you can push them away and say yes, yes, no, 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 yes, yes, yes. There's no more maybes. All the maybes are gone. It's very clear on what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do, as long as your vision is very clear. And then you also receive more support, because just like Howard Schultz when he started Starbucks, he saw the future. Now the investors were behind him. This happens like every day when you go to get money from banks and when you go to get money from investors. They haven't started the business. They haven't seen what you have seen. But you see it so clearly that you can compose an image of it in a business plan and a cash flow analysis with images and a PowerPoint presentation. And that when you present it to them, everybody jumps on it and buys it. In fact, this happens when you buy a house, right? The architect, Mattamy, Remington, Great Gulf, when they build a house, they don't actually build a house and then sell it to you. They don't even show you the empty plot of land. They take you to a showroom. They show you some sketches. They show you some renderings of a future potential house. And it is based on that you buy the house, right? They literally see the future. They know exactly what they're going to do to build the house and put it on the plot of land. So because it is so clear, they have convinced you that it is worth putting down $1 million to buy this house, correct? So this happens every time. We think that having a clear vision of the future is rare, but it's not. It actually happens when the purchase of a house. It happens when we try to make a meal for dinner, how the recipe is going to turn out. That's a vision of the future. When we plan a party, we try to envision what the party is going to look like before we act on it, right? So now we know what elements are needed to make the party happen. This is all vision. The problem is that we take this superpower and we apply it for the small things. We don't apply it for the big things. That's what we got to do. And when we do that, that is when we receive support from all the people that we need help from, the bankers, the investors, because they come out of the woodwork saying, hey, this guy's going to take us to a brighter future. I see a return on my investment. I'm investing in him or her, right? And finally, an architect only designs, an investor only finances, and a builder only builds what a visionary sees clearly in his mind. Do you understand when Boeing invented the 747? That was a project that was destined to do one of two things. It would either bankrupt Boeing in its infancy, or it would take it to the next level. At the time, no one in the aircraft industry wanted Boeing to make a 747. Nobody wanted an aircraft that big. But the Boeing CEO said, we're gonna make that plane because we're Boeing. We see the future clearly. And the future is flights that make a plane that big. So they built the plane, they exhausted all their funds, and they started selling it to parties that were not initially interested in the project. But they bought into it because they saw the future. Now the 747 is one of the most popular planes in aviation history. Okay? So again, people will only come to you, people will only help you, your team will only do what you want to do as long as you can see things clearly. And that is why vision is the #1 multiplier in the success equation. If you do not have vision, there is no success. So I'll leave you with that today. Tomorrow, we will talk about service. So I hope you found this video helpful. Please give it a thumbs up if you have. Again, if you want to join us, mavericks.goldwynandsons.com. I'll see you there. Take care.